And welcome to Let Them Talk. I'm Paul Durienzo, your host, and we have a great show in store for you as usual. And my guest, returning again, Barbara Rosenthal, who's a writer and a poet and a videographer and filmmaker. And I've seen some of your films. You're an actress in your own films and in other films, and a beautiful woman at that. And welcome to Let Them Talk.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. This is my third time. Mm-hmm. Thanks so much. And it's such a cataclysmic night. It's 9/11 and Rosh Hashanah.
You're letting people in on the little-known fact that this is a live program.
Live.
It's live. You know, we're alive and it's live, right? Yeah. And today is the 17th anniversary of the terrible events of September 11, 2001. Which is, of course, frightening to anybody who was there, and definitely we all suffer some PTSD because of it, just at the mention of it. And it's also, though, a happy day, because Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year, and what year is it?
Oh, it's 5790 something. People, I don't keep track, but it's
right.
It's a lot of.
Yeah, we got that with Catholics too. They know everything, but then if you ask the details, they don't know anything.
I like to know the questions before.
So you do your research.
It is 57, 5,700.
I'm only joking. I'm just teasing. Come on. You know that. And did you have your apples and honey?
I had that yesterday. I ate my apples and I had my honey.
That's good. Good. Well, it's great. It's a new year. It's a wonderful new year. And it's strange. It's always strange in September, because it's in New York. When you're in New York, Rosh Hashanah is a major event in New York City.
Thank you for saying that. People are scheduling all kinds of stuff on Rosh Hashanah.
They shouldn't. It's a major event.
They never used to.
We moved the election, the primary, to Thursday, so it wouldn't be fall on Tuesday.
Yay, New York!
Right, and if they couldn't do it next Tuesday. I learned this today. We couldn't do it next Tuesday because that's the much more somber Yom Kippur holiday, which is next week. So they couldn't do it today because it would be Rosh Hashanah, and they lose a lot of voters. They can't do it. They lose even more voters next week, so they compromise on Thursday, which is unusual in the United States. It's always Tuesday, first Tuesday of the month, and whatever.
I'm very pleased. That is that's going on, because I've been involved with people who've come to the city fairly recently that are not understanding that this is part of New York City.
Mm-hmm. Right. And next to the Scientologists, we have to make sure that we don't have our election day on any of their holidays as well. And I'm pushing the joke too far.
That's why people are scheduling. So that's why people who are coming to the city late or, more recently are saying, oh, and then we get this, and we get that, and we get this, and we get. But that's not actually the fact. I mean, this is an enormous part of the population, and it's part of the culture, and we absorb the city into the holidays. Not just with the parking and the schools out, but. With the celebration of it, and
well, it's a great holiday, and it's great. I'm glad we should. More people. You don't have to be Jewish to like Levy's, and you don't have to be Jewish to enjoy Rosh Hashanah, right? It's a new year. So welcome to our show on this day, and this, both a combination of happy and sad on one day. Strange.
And I prepared things. For both of it.
Should I ask, where were you on 9/11?
Oh, God.
2001.
I was on the back deck of the Staten Island ferry.
What a view.
Looking up at the worst two buildings in American architecture, and saying to myself, as I did every Tuesday and Friday, because I taught at the College of Staten Island for 22 years. I taught freshman composition for 22 years, 4 sections a year. And I hated those buildings, and I was looking at them, hating them, and suddenly, smoke starts appearing out of the buildings, and did I mentally destroy them? I mean, what happened? But I knew because in 1993, I live on West Street. I live up in the artist community of West Beth. and I knew from 1993 that it was a terrorist attack. And
that was when the explosion happened. That was a different one.
Yes.
And in a way, it was the completion of the attempt in '93 that failed.
Exactly. I stood up on the back deck, and I had worked as a photojournalist for the Post and other newspapers around it. But for the once in my life, I didn't have a camera with me, and this was right before the cell phone cameras and all that. And I started yelling, "It's a terrorist attack! It's a terrorist attack! Take photographs and call the papers. They'll pick them up."
They heard it, I
and
think.
People, ooh, it's crazy. They're all at the left side.
Did they begin to believe it after?
Not at all.
Wow.
Not at all. They were taking pictures of Staten Island Ferry. And finally, I convinced some couple from Omaha, and they, like, the man took a picture of the woman, and the woman took a picture of him, and he's satisfied. Then the police came, and they said, sit down, lady. And everybody thought I was some crazy woman on the ferry yelling.
Were you going to New York?
I was going to Staten Island.
To Staten Island. That's why you were in the back.
My freshman English class, like day, and no one believed me. And of course, those Omaha people are now, I'm sure all these years, they're going to be like heroes of their community.
I taught a school in the Bronx that was on a hilltop in Hunts Point, and they were all on the roof. And, from that vantage point, you could see the whole city. And I was on the radio at the time, WBAI, and the WBAI was at the time in the Empire State Building. And so when the planes knocked out the World Trade Center, our little station was the only one on the air.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
Which I was doing the news right before I came here at WBAI, do the news, and I just did the news where we played a clip from that.
It's amazing
you're
still on the air. The reason I brought this book is that it's called From Somewhere to Nowhere, The End of the American Dream. and it just came out this year, and the editors are Jim Feast, Ron Colm, and Shalom Newman, and it's an anthology of writers from New York City. And being a media artist, I'll take any media. Yeah, I'm a writer. Yeah. I'm a poet. Yeah. I'm a photographer. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So this is my journal, and in my journal, this is volume 79. I was writing in it on the back deck because I obsessively write things.
Oh, and that's the book? That's it?
Well, this is the current volume. This is the one that started on my birthday. I turned 70 about 3 weeks ago.
Very young 70.
I get younger every year.
It's a new 50.
It's amazing. 50 was terrible. Don't ask me about 50.
Okay.
This is suicidal. Very bad year.
Okay.
The decade, the whole thing. Anyway, I was writing in my journal, and suddenly looking at the buildings and this stuff. And what this anthology published was my journal entry from that day, because it's about the end of the American dream. And then the flip side of being Rosh Hashanah comes up in a novel, which for Amnesia.
Which you've read extensively on the show, which is a great novel.
Yeah.
I have a copy of it at home.
Did you read it? Oh, don't. Sorry. We can cut that part out.
No, that's all right. I have it right. It's right there on my desk. You can't miss it. It's right there, and I will pick it up and read it in its entirety. I've read parts of it.
I've been working on.
It's beautiful.
On this book for 40 years, and it's come out in 18 editions. Yeah. So I don't know which one you have, but it's probably not the current one. What happens with this book is that people read it, and then they talk to me about it. And I listen to what they say, and then I realize what they did or didn't get. Mm-hmm. And then it goes through my head about how I can manipulate the time, the space, the relationships a little bit. And I've been tweaking it, so I'll write it again. I would never, if anybody says you should or whatever, I will put my fingers in my ears. I will not listen to anyone about advice. How to do anything, but I will listen about how people have read or seen or what they think, about the work, because the viewer, the beholders, what I write. It is part of the dynamic of my work.
Are you going to read something for us?
Yeah. Okay.
I definitely want to hear that.
What do you want me to?
Oh, whatever.
Which part?
How about your since it's 9/11? When you read a little bit of your what you saw, I think that's fascinating.
Okay. The section starts out, as I told you, my 50s were really, really bad. I was extremely psychotic, and I was on 30 meds, and it was really, really bad. And I was trying to come off of them. So it's just, I was writing in the journal, and so I'm going to read like, and then sure. What I saw. 4 a.m., awoke to usual pre-dawn panic attack, gasping for air, no dream, just patternless profusion of words, screeching silently, extreme and intense, heart throbbing, head throbbing, wrenching gut, diarrhea, gagging, palpitations, tremors, etc., Klonopin. Strange to take in the morning what my brother, who's now dead, takes to sleep, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and then 8 a.m. on 7th Avenue subway. Okay, 8:30. Got favorite seat on back deck, crisp, clear, sky blue, sky blue, sky blue sky, sunny and warm, just hint of light, cool breeze, perfect day, perfect view, battery starting to recede, teal and steel blue water, fresh and glinting, white wake churning, gulls circling, pigeons along for the ride, Empire State just barely visible, now far up on 34th Street, World Trade Center, so disproportionate as architecture, but so grand symbol of America's gigantitude, filled by family wage earners. A few artists have studios there, such permeating light air, magnificent elevators must make them want to work large scale. Don't know anyone. Oh my God! Flames just burst! Trailing black smoke westward, 2/3 way up left tower, 8:45. 9:10 a.m. on bus from ferry to college. No camera with me today, shit. Stopped writing when flames burst, jumped up, yelled, pointed, made everyone look. Terrorist attack, terrorist attack. Passengers looked at me, not at skyline. Maybe 10 people on deck. So blasé. Some tourists with cameras, no one shooting. I kept yelling, take pictures. Call the Times when we dock, or by cell phone. They'll pick up your film. You'll get it back. It's just a fire, some woman said. No, I yelled more frantically. Don't you remember the garage bomb in 1993? Please take pictures. The view from the bay is remarkable. You're bound to hit the papers. No one's shooting. Everyone edging further from me. Statue of Liberty, which they came to photograph, floating up starboard. One dubious couple snapped a few frames toward the battery, each one of the other in front of the shot. Take some of just Manhattan, of the burning tower, of the scene. Please call the Times Metro desk. Tell them you have film. They said they might, and politely left toward the statue. A few people came on deck from inside. Their radios had no news.
Wow.
They would have carried me off in a straitjacket if they could have. I mean, the police were, like, they were police on the...
Did they know what was going on, the police?
Nobody knew what was going on. I knew what was going on, but no one knew, like, formally what was going on. I was sure what was going on.
You could have seen my building. I was in 120 Wall Street, which is right at on the river, right on the East River, and our windows looked towards the East River, towards Brooklyn, and you could see, like it was snowing, the pieces of paper that were coming down, like from the files. In those days, they had paper files still, and it was just raining paper files and ash coming down, and the waters were churned up, and I saw military ships in the water pretty soon after it that looked like spaceships or something. I've never seen any since then either. Strange looking vehicles that were in the water, and it looked like Dunkirk, because there was people who were coming and just picking up people in small boats and taking them back to Brooklyn. And then people started calling us on WBAI from Brooklyn who could see it, and they were calling and telling us what they were seeing. And then some people who were, a couple of guys who were paramedics off duty went down to help, and they brought a video camera, and they came back, and we played the video on the screen, but played the audio of the video and talked about what we were seeing, and they showed the fire trucks that looked like a giant had taken them and rung them like that. I mean, they must have just flown in the air like giant fire trucks, like they were toys, everywhere. And we were there until 5 o'clock, 5:20, when Seven World went down, and then they cut off the electricity. They wait, you know. We found out, and they've cut off the electricity after the collapse. Like before the collapse, they need the electricity to fight the fire, and then after the collapse, they don't want to get anybody electrocuted when they go in to save people. If there's anybody to be saved, there weren't many. And we walked over, me and my friend Jim Dingman, we walked over. We had masks around our face. You know, people were giving them out. They had like big wet towels around our face. And we walked right to the edge of it in the smoke. And I ran into Rudolph Giuliani's security team. And they had just barely escaped with their lives. And they were sort of, you know, when it wasn't like they thought it was funny, but they were laughing. As you know, when you survive something, it's like a high point in your life at that moment, right? So it hadn't hit the enormity of it, but they were slapping each other on the back. You know, we lived. And I came up behind them and was watching them do that. It was pretty interesting.
It was quite a day. We were trapped on Staten Island like till the evening.
I was in the studio, and we sent a reporter out, and he wanted to interview people, but because there's so many horrific things happening, that he didn't want to have him printed on his brain. He was literally covered his eyes like this while he was doing the interview, so he wouldn't see. Which I wouldn't describe. What was happening around. It was horrific. Even the moments before the collapse.
And it's Rosh Hashanah now too.
Yeah.
So what I got in this book, this is my novel, Wish for Amnesia, which I've been working on for 40 years. And I keep thinking it's finished. We got the first edition, then the definitive first edition, and whatever. If you go to my website, or the website for the novel, it's published by Deadly Chaps Press. The editor is Joseph Quintella. The website for the book is wishforamnesia.com. It has the 14 editions that have been published in very small editions since 1985. I had the first book published. But I really, it's got to be done. I haven't even reread.
Explain to people what the story is about, if that's possible.
Okay. Wish for Amnesia is a modern-day mix of futuristic fable and historical fact that follows 6 idiosyncratic characters in New York and Rome from 1968 to 85, hippiedom to Halley's Comet. It pivots around Jack Rubin, son of Holocaust resistance workers, who develops a messianic complex. I think all of us Jews really have it. It's up to us, man. It's up to.
Don't touch your mic. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Yes. Right. I should know that as a media person.
It'll make a loud noise.
He rises to great success in a life of androgenetics, early computer technology, and international politics. But he is beset by voices which say he has no right to lead until he has the perfect plan. That's because I hear all these people with all these complaints, and I go, so? What's the idea? Well, they don't have any ideas. They just want to complain. A troubled relationship with a blind black performance artist, etc., and then she becomes the child's grandmother when he marries one of her students, etc. It's about perfection. It's about, like, all of the characters, all the 6 characters have different ideas about perfection. As an artist, as a thinker, as a political scientist. But like all my work, including the videos, which I brought some of.
Existential wordplay?
Yeah, existential wordplay, because the topic tonight was supposed to be the relationship between image and text, image text before, like how all these media come.
What does
together.
Existentialism mean in the real world? I mean, what does that mean to you?
To me, I'm glad you put that at the end. I'm not sure what it means in the real world. What it means to me is about the identity of the core. This is another question I wish you'd ask me in advance. The core crux identity of whatever it is you're talking about. In this case, it's about human beings, to be human. I have a book from 1986. It's called Homo Futuris, and it uses my journal and things that I've collected from the news to figure out what we are as essential anthropomorphic beings and what we might become. And a lot of my predictions have started to come true, not of the cyborg, which I was considering at the time, which is partially true, but that the next hominid was going to be genetically engineered, and boy, that's certainly coming true. So what this was all about was, when I say all about, what you have to understand, whichever camera's on, and all of you out there, and you, what everyone has to understand about my work is that I don't know what the hell I'm doing when I start to do it. I don't have some sort of stupid idea and then illustrate it somehow. I work from a completely internal way. It takes a very long time to put all of these things together, and then I start to analyze what the hell I did, you know, and sometimes that analysis happens during the course of a work, and then as I see what it is that I've been doing, I will model the work, whether it's hand out cards from like my provocation card piece or my dirty book piece, or there's tons and tons of things that I do. Then I try to mold it a little bit to get rid of the stuff that's not about what I'm doing, you know, and then I figure out how to fit it together. What happened in this novel is that it's a kind of collage, but it's not like a junk collage. We just pull this piece of shit out of this and you stick it together. What I wanted to do with a novel is make it work, like to make it happen. Like even though it couldn't happen in reality, I wanted to have a level where a level of it where it could happen in reality, and where it could be supernaturally happening, like not like Murakami, like not where like everything is like like you don't really know but you gotta believe and like this stuff. I wanted you to be able to figure out like how like what like. He gets killed at the end, Jack Rubin, at the end, and when people read,
you want to read us an excerpt?
Well,
we don't have a real lot of time left. That's why you're
all right. I'll
tell
you what. Pick a page because I selected
112.
a page. I had selected a page about being Jewish because of the time, but it's much better to do it this way. 112 is a picture. See, okay, but
okay, 115.
Woohoo. Okay, and of course, your scars should play down your looks, not play them up. Caroline's own face was, as usual these days, made up to the point of garishness. Her white silk summer suit, overdone crisp, overdone smart. Her inconsistencies of appearance disconcerting. Hell, Caroline went on. What should I care what you do to yourself? What should I care what you look like? I knew you'd go to any length to spite me. She's talking to her daughter, Jewel. Jewel squinted at the drivers of the car they overtook, the contrast from the blinding light too high for color or detail. She focused on the red and green gemmed pin that Carrie wore. Those horrid punk styles of the last few years are dying down now, finally, her mother kept going. Everyone is saying so. Even the boys who shaved their heads or parts of their heads, not like you, but in style, they call them mohawks. There's precedent for that. Fashion history, at least. Even those boys are growing their hair again. All of Caroline's smart new friends had stylish children, and all the neighborhood kids had blossomed into fine boys and girls. It had taken her a while, but over time, Carrie finally began joining with the people who would have welcomed her into Princeton society from the beginning when Jack had tried to urge her. But Jewel, that's the daughter, had lost interest in wholesome families a long time ago. Over the years, Caroline had thought better of Jewel's peers as Jewel, one by one, locked them out. Those children have grown up, outgrown their baby dullness. But you, who had the most promise of any child, look what you've done to yourself.
Thank you. That was great.
Wishforamnesia.com, and it has a buy now. Like,
oh, you can buy it if you want. Click.
Yeah, you go click buy now. It's
you'll be
on
reading
Amazon.
it yourself.
It's got great reviews. It's been getting each of the editions.
It's a great book. I can hear it's great.
You gotta read it, guys.
Okay, I started reading it, but I haven't read the whole thing. I will.
Oh, I don't know. One of the reviews says, the first 20 pages, and you can't put it down.
I know. That's true. That's true. I have to go somewhere where I can relax and just read something for fun instead of for work all the time. As a journalist, I'm always reading stuff, related to some story or some investigation. I rarely get to just read for fun.
There's so much writing and not much reading these days. I'm sort of. I started.
We're being media overwhelmed in a way.
Well, yeah. I mean, my girlfriend Marty and I, when we were kids, we used to go to the library, come back with a stack of 10 books, sit around, lie around on our floor, and just read, and read, and
You're doing a fun circumstance.
Yeah, I still read a lot. I'm meeting all these writers who don't share books, don't buy books, I buy all their books, and then I read them, but I'm getting tired of it.
Last minute, what would you like to say to people? What's the takeaway?
Happy Rosh Hashanah.
Happy Rosh Hashanah.
And thank you very much for having me.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova, which I learned as Lishana Tova with the H's. We're getting.
All right. You know it better than I do. Somebody just taught it to me the other day.
Exactly. I've been sending out Shana Tova messages and getting back Lishana Tova, and then we're having this dialogue about how we used to learn it.
The response to it when you say it, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, thank you, Barbara Rosenthal, for joining us. Thank you. I know it's a sad day, so all our love to you guys who went through all of that if you were here, and to all those others, Shana Tova, enjoy your Rosh Hashanah. And we'll see you next week. We're going to have Brian Duckworth next week, and he's going to be playing his cello. So see you then.